Regular October the 9th, 7 p.m. council meeting. Pretty good agenda tonight. Can't complain about it. It should be relatively quick and painless compared to some we've had in the last little while. Thinking cannabis here. All right, so can I get a motion? Oh, sorry. Are there any changes to the agenda as presented? Administration. Ms. Winter.
Thank you, Worship. Through you to elected officials, administration is proposing 2 amendments to the agenda at this time. Item 13A and 13B of 2 in-camera discussions. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as amended? Councillor Hendricks.
So moved, Your Worship.
All in favor? That carries unanimously. Tonight we have 2 items on our consent agenda, so I move that council consent to approve the following agenda items without debate. Item 4A, regular council meeting minutes from September the 25th, 2018, and special council meeting minutes from October 2nd, 2018. All in favor? Sorry, discussion on the motion? All in favor? That carries unanimously. Which brings us to item 5A, public hearings. Tonight we have 1 public hearing on the agenda for bylaw 927-18, Lakeview Area Structure Plan. At this time, I'd like to declare the public hearing open and is being held pursuant to sections 23606 and 692 of the Municipal Government Act 2000 as amended. Legislative Services, Ms. Winder.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to members of the public and council. Notice, purpose of bylaw 927-118 is to adopt the Lakeview Area Structure Plan. Notice of the public hearing was given in writing to all registered landowners in the Lakeview Area Structure Plan area, adjacent landowners, Leduc County, and applicable agencies. The public hearing notice was advertised in the local newspaper on September 28th and October 5th, 2018. Any written submissions received are included in the agenda package. Currently, there are no additional readings to read into the package at this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And on behalf of Integrated Growth, it looks like we have Mr. Wong and Ms. Raymond. So please.
Thank you. Good evening, Your Worship and member of council. The department received an application for the Lakeview Area Structure Plan. Lakeview is located north of Highway 625 and west of Range Road 241 at the southeast corner of the town of Beaumont. The Area Structure Plan provides the planning and servicing framework for the community and must comply with the municipal development plan. Lakeview is approximately 65 hectares in size and proposes a variety of land uses, including residential, mixed-use development, commercial, and open spaces to help become a complete communities to meet the residents' daily needs. Lakeview plans to accommodate a population of 3,315 with a density of approximately 35 dwelling units per net residential hectares. Lakeview provides land for 2 schools and park spaces to meet the community's growing student populations. Consultation with the school boards clearly indicated that the development of new school sites in Beaumont continues to be a top priority for all the school boards. Situating a large parcel of municipal reserve centrally in the Lakeview neighborhood allows for increased efficiencies to both schools and can share the field space. It also enables more students to have better access to schools within walking distance. The Lakeview Area Structure Plan is in alignment with all higher-level plans and policies, including the Edmonton Metropolitan Region Growth Plan and Beaumont's Municipal Development Plan. As a member of the Municipality of Edmonton Metropolitan Region, new neighborhoods in Beaumont must meet all the requirements of the Edmonton Metropolitan Region Growth Plans, including a density of 35 dwelling units per net residential hectare, to ensure that the growth within the region is responsibly managed through compact and contiguous development. All new area structure plan must be circulated to the Edmonton Metropolitan Region Growth Board for review and approval through the Regional Evaluation Framework. Lakeview was circulated to the Edmonton Metropolitan Region Growth Board after first reading on July 24, and the plan was recommended for approval. No appeals were received from other members' municipality, and therefore the plan was approved by the board on September 21, 2018. The applicant sent letters to the landowners in the planned area and held open houses on February 8, 2018 to solicit input from the public. Consultation with the 3 school boards in Beaumont also took place to discuss the school sites in May last year. The plan was referred out to external agencies on July 30, 2018. Comments were received from Alberta Transportation, the Francophone School Board, and Shaw Communications and the Dual County. They don't have any concerns. The notice of the public hearing was circulated to external agencies and adjacent landowners on September 24, 2018. The notice was also advertised on the town's website and circulated in the newspaper on September 28 and October 5, 2018. Administration is supportive of the Lakeview Area Structure Plan as it is in alignment with higher level plans and policies. It will add a variety of land uses to Beaumont, and it provides a diversity of housing options and additional commercial and school lands. The plan also improved Beaumont's transportation system by enabling the continuation of the outer ring road. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from members of council? All right, seeing none, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Is there a representative of the applicant here tonight that wishes to speak to this plan? Yeah, please state your name clearly for the record. And
hello, my name is Stephen Yu. I'm a planner with Invistec Consulting. And I guess I'll start the presentation. I'm here to talk about the Lakeview Area Structure Plan. Just a quick brief rundown of what I'm going to be talking about today. I'll be giving a history on the project, going over the overall concept, going into a little bit more detail about the concept itself, discussing phasing, and touching briefly on how Lakeview conforms with higher statutory plans. So Lakeview, or formerly known as the Plains-Royer area, is the last unplanned quarter section in the town's pre-annexation or 2017 boundary. It is bounded by Highway 625 to the south, Range Road 241 to the east, Beauval Beaumont Lake South to the west, and Triomphe Estates to the north. A variety of different engagement techniques were used to prepare the plan, such as mailing out letters to landowners, consulting with the different school boards, sending out surveys, and as well as having an open house at the Ken Nickel Arena. Using the feedback received from all these different forms of engagement, they helped inform the land use concept, and as well as inform the community of the neighborhood now being called as Lakeview. So the ASP was developed between 2017 and 2018, and it was originally intended to be a neighborhood structure plan. However, as Mr. Wong just indicated, through the planning process, it was determined to be upgraded to an area structure plan, which is why in February 13th of 2018, Lakeview received first reading as a neighborhood structure plan and received first reading again on July 24, 2018 as an area structure plan. So as an area structure plan, Lakeview must conform with Beaumont's Municipal Development Plan's land use concept. In the MDP, it is indicated that Lakeview is a primarily residential neighborhood with 2 commercial sites. Lakeview, the land use concept for Lakeview conforms with this land use concept as it is primarily residential and it has 2 commercial sites. Looking into the concept with a little bit more detail, Lakeview has a diversity of land uses, including a variety of residential uses, commercial sites, mixed-use sites, PULs, park sites, natural areas, and a stormwater management facility. The concept as a whole has an overall density of 35 units per net residential hectare, which meets the Edmonton Metropolitan Region Board's growth plan density target for the area, as well as will produce a roughly population of 3,315 people and about 755 students. Next, I'm going to be going over each different land use and kind of explaining the different aspects of it, starting with residential. As I mentioned, Lakeview has a variety of residential housing forms, including low-density residential, blended residential, greenway housing or reverse housing, medium-density residential, high-density residential, and mixed use. So the low-density residential would be your traditional front garage, single-detached, semi-detached, or duplex housing. The blended residential is, while different than the low-density, is that it's more street-oriented and would include a mix of small lot single-detached, semi-detached, duplex, and multi-attached housing. Greenway housing or reverse housing is a subcategory of blended residential. However, instead of being street-oriented, they would be oriented towards a green space or greenway. This would also have a mix of the small lot single-attached, semi-detached housing, duplex housing, and multi-attached. Medium density would be your multi-attached and your apartment site, and your high density residential is your apartment site. The mixed use would include residential development above a ground floor commercial site. Moving to commercial, there are two types of commercial sites proposed in Lakeview. One is a neighborhood commercial site, the other one is a mixed-use site. These are intended to be small-scale sites to support the needs of the community, of the neighborhood, and are located on major transportation routes. So the neighborhood commercial site is located in the top right there, and is located on a collector roadway and Range Road 241 to increase visibility, while the mixed-use site is located more internally in the neighborhood on a collector roadway to better transition with the low-density residential surrounding it. Both these sites are inconsistent with the municipal development plan. Looking at the open space network, the open space network for Lakeview consists of park spaces, greenways, natural areas, PULs, and a stormwater management facility. There is in the southwest corner is the natural area, which is a tree stand, which is connected by the PUL, the purple area down there, and as well as greenways. All these open spaces are interconnected through a trail system, sidewalks, and walkways. So those dashed blue lines are the proposed trails, and the solid lines are the key pedestrian sidewalk connections. And the circles are intending where our key pedestrian crossings. Those are generally located around the school sites and the stormwater management facility. So how does Lakeview fit in with the Beaumont's greater open space network? So through the trail system around the stormwater management facility, Lakeview connects to the west to LeBlanc Canal and to the north to 50th Avenue through existing and planned municipal reserves and stormwater management facilities. Lakeview consists of, features two school sites that are centrally located to support students walking to school. This is supported with greenways and walkways that are connected to the school sites. The two shades of blue here indicate walk sheds. So the darker blue indicates a 250-meter walk shed, and the lighter blue is a 500-meter walk shed. So all residents in Lakeview are within 400 meters of the school site. This does not take into account natural areas in greenways and other municipal reserve in the surrounding neighborhoods that would increase that darker blue in some of the areas to the west side of the neighborhood. As well, because we have two school sites accommodated in this neighborhood, we have a over-dedication of municipal reserve here. The transportation network for Lakeview consists of major and minor collector roadways. The major collector roadway finishes off the outer ring road for Beaumont, and the minor collector roadways connect that major collector roadway to Range Road 241. No direct connections were provided to Highway 625 based off of consultation with Alberta Transportation. Moving on to staging. So it is anticipated that the neighborhood would develop from the north to the south, extending south from Toronto Estates. However, because of the development in Beauval, Beaumont Lake South, as well as Toronto Estates, development could come from the west and from the north at the same time, depending on landowner and whether or not they would like to move forward with it. So as mentioned earlier, the Lakeview conforms with higher statutory plans, including but not limited to the Edmonton Metropolitan Region's Growth Plan, Town of Beaumont's Municipal Development Plan, and Town of Beaumont's Open Space and Trails Master Plan. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your presentation this evening. Questions from members of council. Councillor Van Newkirk.
Oh, thanks for the presentation tonight. Just had kind of one comment and a couple of questions. So big picture first, Beaumont's looking to improve on the current 95-5 ratio, yet there's only one area commercial in the northeast proposed and then one area of mixed use proposed in the southwest, and just looking for some comments on that from yourself and admin, or we can talk about that more at second and third reading, but just looking for some comment there.
Yeah, for sure. Through your worship to Councillor Van Newkirk, in the original municipal development plan, when we were preparing the Lakeview area structure plan, this neighborhood was originally intended to be entirely residential with no commercial aspects. Through the area structure plan process, we incorporated commercial sites, the 2 commercial sites, to help support the 95-5 split that council was looking for. Through the market analysis, it was determined that only 2 sites were going to be supported due to the location of this neighborhood being on the Range Road and on Highway 625 due to access limitations from 625.
Can I continue?
Keep going, yeah.
Okay. I was happy to see some primary trail lines on the east and south of the trail network. Can you confirm that those will be a perimeter trail similar to what we have in the northeast around the north and west all the way around?
Yep, through your worship to Councillor Van Newkirk. On the southern portion, yeah, that is intended to be part of that trail that extends into Beaumont Lake South, and the one going on the east side is intended to go up north.
Yeah, on the east side, directly parallel to the Range Road.
Yes, correct.
On the
Yes, that
outside
is
of the
intended to be
development. So it's
along.
like, so we have an exterior trail
Correct,
all the way around
yes.
Beaumont. Yeah, good. And then last comment, Greenway housing, I like the pictures and I've seen a little bit of it before. Is there any current examples in the surrounding area, if I was to go for a drive, where I could see some examples of that Greenway housing and how it's come together?
Through your worship to Councillor Van Newkirk, in the neighborhood of Laurel, there are some examples of Greenway housing that are built already.
Okay.
In Edmonton, yeah.
Okay, thank you for that.
Councillor Stout.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through Your Worship to the presenter. Apart from nomenclature, this being an area structure plan when it was a neighbourhood structure plan, what are the significant changes since we approved this on, when was it, February the 13th?
Through your worship to Councillor Stout, the biggest change is really the name. In terms of the level of detail, the area structure plan that we have proposed today, it does meet the higher requirements as required through the Edmonton Metropolitan Region Board's requirements for area structure plans. So this plan had gone to them for referral as through their process. Meanwhile, as a neighborhood structure plan, it would not have needed to go through that process, as there would have been a higher statutory plan that would have been referred to the Edmonton Region Board for approval first.
So this is mainly a question of process and nomenclature. So something like, for instance, the Greenway that we were just discussing, which is something I like about the plan and applauded when it was last presented. I noticed the emphasis in the document has changed a little bit, but basically that's the same thing as was proposed.
Through your worship, Councillor Stout, correct. Yes, that's the same intent, yes.
Thank you. I think that's all.
That's it. All right. Councillor Moncalf Swain.
Thank you, Worship. Just a really quick question. Range Road 241 is part of this plan to complete that, finish that. Right now it's a gravel road and we get a lot of questions about that. Is that on your responsibility? Is that something the town's looking at? Just to clarify that.
Through your worship, okay.
See, that might be an admin question.
I think that is part of the road widening process. Through the subdivision, the Range Road 241 will be widened, and through the subdivision process, there will be road dedication for a portion of the basically along the east side of Range Road 241, and then it will be widened all the way. Yeah, so it will be through the subdivision process.
Okay, and so our plan is to go through that process at the same time as this plan is implemented?
The plan has already identified the road widening on the map, but then it will provide directions for the future subdivision. So when the subdivision comes, then as part of the subdivision approval, there will be a condition to dedicate a road.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good clarification. Thank you.
Ms. Raymond.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to clarify on that as well, the actual construction of Range Road 241 to upgrade it from gravel to a paved standard would be done through our off-site levy process, but it will be coming back as a budget item.
That was the question, right? Yeah. Are there any further questions from members of council for the presenter? Once again, thank you very much. It was very comprehensive. Appreciate it. Is there anybody that wishes to speak in favor of the proposed bylaw? Is there anybody in the council chambers tonight that wishes to speak in opposition to the bylaw? Is there any person in the council chambers this evening that wishes to speak that deems themselves to be affected and just wishes to be heard? All right, seeing none, we will declare the public hearing closed. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is item 6A, registered presentations. Tonight we have the Leduc District Food Bank Association presenting to us this evening. Please.
I'm such a great treasure.
If you could just state your names and who you are and speak
Yes,
through the mic, that'd be great.
My name is Tony Robinson, a volunteer and currently treasurer with the board of directors of the Leduc District Food Bank.
An address.
Pardon me?
Address.
Oh, address. I live at 102 West Haven Drive in the city of Leduc.
Thank you.
Gert Rayner, Leduc District Executive Director, and the address is 4503 54th Ave, Leduc.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
Your worship and council, thank you very much for your time tonight. We've come before you to present and discuss funding requests for the Leduc District Food Bank for the 2019 operating year. We've chosen to do this because we are coming forward with what we consider to be a significant request and change from history, and we wanted to make sure that council understood what was driving that need and hopefully then to gather your support for that funding. The Leduc District Food Bank relies very strongly on our municipal partners, Beaumont being one of them. Funding across all of our municipal partners has been fairly steady for quite a number of years. However, need and costs continue to rise as the food bank continues to operate, and that presents some challenges to us. Certainly we've gone through as an organization and gone through a strategic plan and a needs assessment for our organization for the next 20 years. And you may be aware that the food bank has actually just moved into a new facility that will allow us to operate, we feel, effectively within that next 20-year period. Of course, all those things drive cost. One of the things we're doing then is coming to our various municipal partners to seek some support in that funding. Historically, Beaumont has given us funding of $5,000 a year. This year we have come forward with a request of $15,000. Just to give you an idea of the type of effort that goes through the food bank, we currently process 30 to 35,000 pounds of food that's distributed monthly across the full region of our support across the county. Looking at our last full business year, there was just shy of 300 people in the town of Beaumont that benefited from the food bank, and there were over 40,000 pounds of food distributed within Beaumont for that service. All these things as we drive forward, we need to be very cognizant of providing service to our clients as well as being very cost effective in how we do that. The food bank is run largely to the efforts of volunteers. The vast majority of our labor is volunteer, and we work very hard to make sure we get the maximum benefit to our clients as we use the funds that we have available. We're very grateful for the support of our municipal partners, also for our private and corporate donors. They're what allows the food bank to be successful and to provide services. The other thing we've become very aware of is that the food bank has to be more than just providing food to people in need. We've discovered that we can be a lot more in trying to help people be independent and to get themselves to be self-supporting. And through that, we've started a teaching kitchen to tell people how to prepare meals, how to use the food that they're given, and again, give them a greater sense of independence. We're also working on what we refer to as our connection center. The food bank is very often a first point of contact for people in need. And the Connection Center has been established to help them understand other services that are available to them. Specifically, people with challenges can use the center, and we help them understand what other social services are available to them and help, again, channel them towards the services that are available to them to make them be more independent within our society. Looking at the numbers, it's not exact math, but what we're asking for is roughly $1 per resident. That's the type of funding we're requesting. Looking most recently, Beaumont's just crossed over the 18,000 population rate in your most recent census. The 15,000 in funding was decided before we saw those numbers, but it's working out to less than $1 per resident for the funding for the service that the food bank provides. Want to certainly let you know that it's not just Beaumont that we're approaching. We approached the city of Leduc last year, and they did significantly step up their funding to us as well. Obviously, the city of Leduc is the largest user within the area, but we have to make sure that we maintain enough funding within the food bank for it to be able to provide services that are essential to people that are at risk within our community. If you have any questions, I'll certainly be happy to try and answer them.
Thank you very much for your presentation this evening. I did have the opportunity this summer to actually go through your old location. And I heard about the plans for the new one, and I'm hoping that you've moved in and everything as well, because when I was in there before, we were stacked in, it was packed, it was tall, it was space that was quite clearly the food bank had outgrown. And I had a chance to go through all the great programs you guys are putting on. And I'd highly recommend members of council, if you ever get the opportunity, go spend an hour or two. It's highly worth it. At this point, I will turn it over to council for questions. I see Councillor Van Nieuwkerk's got a couple.
Hello, thank you for the presentation. You alluded to the City of Leduc stepping up their contribution. What would you mind sharing? Are you able to share how much they've increased their contribution?
I think it's public. I don't think there's any secrets there. They previously had supported us at $15,000 annually. They've stepped up to $60,000.
60.
So
okay.
They've basically gone to about $2 per resident with their funding support.
Okay.
88.
They've also changed our funding requirements, so we are now baseline on their budget every year for that $60,000. If we need more, then we can ask for more, but we don't have to apply every year.
Okay. Just a follow up to that.
Sure.
The $60,000 amount, was that your ask, or was that following deliberations with the City of Leduc?
That was actually an ask that they said yes to.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I also want to mention that our process went through FCSS because that's how we usually were doing it in the past.
Okay.
FCSS, I know, has limited budget money. Also, food banks are not necessarily supposed to be funded through your FCSS programs, and that's kind of a government rule. So our ask this time was substantial, therefore coming to council directly rather than, well, we did go through FCSS, but it wasn't something that we think, or they could probably handle in their budget. We would hate to see them have to cut out some programs for clients, because these are people we deal with, and the programs that your FCSS program offers are very important to the clients that we deal with and that they deal with. So that was the other reason of coming directly to the council.
No, we appreciate that. And actually, it's rather timely for a request of this nature, because we're about to go to budget in about 2 weeks. So can I get a motion to refer the funding request to budget?
Sure. Would I be able to get one more from the moment?
Sure.
You had mentioned that benefit was to 300 residents that are both in Beaumont. Any idea what your number for benefit residents would be?
Now?
Yeah. Well,
in Leduc?
I'm working 2017, so that's our
Yeah,
last
that's
full year
cool.
statistics.
Yeah.
So in Leduc, that was 1,300.
Okay, thank you.
So you're going to make that motion?
Yes.
Okay, discussion on the motion. Councillor Danlock.
Actually, sorry, I had a question, but...
Go on, you can ask a question. Go ahead.
Oh, just a quick thing. My company is based in Edmonton right now, and we have twice volunteered at the Edmonton Food Bank in the afternoon as members of our company. And I spent 4 hours creating boxes, stacking boxes with food and Gary. A lot harder than it looks, let me tell you. So, a lot harder than it looks. And so I understand completely their situation and yours, that you rely entirely on volunteers. And I'm pleasantly surprised there's only 78 families in Beaumont requiring the food. I thought there were more, actually. Honestly, I thought there would be
It's
more.
growing.
It's growing, unfortunately,
Yeah.
but it's less than I thought there was. That's a good sign.
Yeah, well,
But
when
they're
we
being
look
looked
at the-
after.
When we look at the larger statistics, it comes at about 3% of the population at one point in time or another will need the support of the food bank.
Yeah. Just a quick question, and then I'm looking at the slide that shows Beaumont 78, Calmore 41, Devon 72 families, and the Beaumont and Devon do seem very similar in terms of need being supplied by the food bank of the Leduc District, and we're coming in around 5,000 from Beaumont, looking at 15. Is that correct? That is correct, right? As they ask going forward.
So the ask is 15 from Beaumont. We do intend to look at where we're going with the other smaller communities as well.
Okay.
But one of the things that drove us to this conclusion was as we went through our needs assessment for our facility specifically, we looked at a 20-year curve for where communities were going. And obviously Leduc was going to see solid growth, but Beaumont is seeing astronomical growth in that 20-year period. And we were very cognizant of the fact that if we're to remain a district food bank, Beaumont had to deserve our special attention and how the needs were going to be provided when we could see the population of the community doubling in a very short period of time, if the plans go through and the statistics all work out the way they do. So looking at how we manage that as well as how we go through that distribution with partners, making sure we can execute that effectively.
Yeah. My question was going to be exactly that we've given Beaumont's explosive growth the last number of years. Do you anticipate, I couldn't see the presentation, any anticipated growth for Beaumont's utilization of the food bank? I mean, we're at 78, 19 in 2017. Do you have any expectations of growth you may expect from Beaumont in terms of utilization?
I'm certainly seeing a lot more usage coming out of Beaumont, but also all of the other areas. And the
Right.
usage that we're seeing is a lot of people moving out into the smaller areas, thinking that it's cheaper. Unfortunately, once they get there and they realize that the transportation is an issue, there's no a social support network for them, it becomes it becomes a challenge, absolutely, whether it's transportation, all of those things. So for us, working really closely with the FCSS coordinators in each one of those communities or departments is extremely important. Number one, you need to know what's happening in your community. If they're coming to me and you guys don't know what that need is, to me it's very important that we're connecting them with you here in your community. So you can look at what the social aspect is happening in your community and what are the needs that you may need to look at and the programs you may need to offer, but also very important that we're making that connection and making sure that we're meeting that need. So working very closely with your FCSS department and making sure that, how do we make sure that we're able to help those people who may not have transportation or have other barriers along with that. So that's a really important part. As far as I'm concerned, in all of the areas, but Beaumont, because it's been growing a lot. The people that we're seeing coming have some very complex challenges in a number of different areas. So that affects you guys also when it comes to what are the programs and how do you meet those needs and how are you able to help support those people within your community?
Just a quick follow-up, Your Worship, then. Thank you. I'm just suggesting, with the ask being up to $15,000, would that money go into the general revenue of the food bank? The reason I'm asking is there a way to give Beaumont some recognition for our contribution? Because this is doing good work from our citizens to the food bank, and I think credit should be given where credit is due. And if we are contributing more, we should hopefully find a way to get some recognition for it. But I'm not in any way form tying this to recognition, not at all. I'm just suggesting if there's a way we can, highlight Beaumont's efforts and Devon's efforts and Calmar's and so on. It'd be nice to know how we can maybe do that in the future going forward. Thank you.
We'd be certainly happy to have those conversations with you about what that would look like.
Thank you very much. Councillor Monkhouse-Swain.
Yeah, just move the motion to bring the discussion back to budget.
Oh, Steve already did that. Sorry, Councillor Landry already did that.
Okay. Let's vote on it.
Seeing no further discussion, we'll have a quick vote on the motion. All in favor? That carries unanimously. So yeah, we'll have that one back in the budget for you.
I would like to invite all of you, if you, definitely, we had the county council came out with all our FCSS staff and toured the new facility, even though we were still in boxes. So I would be more than happy to have you guys come out after meeting if you like or whatever, and have you come out and tour and see what the facility is like. Not only the food bank, but also our kitchen learning center and our life skills center, which is also growing. And once again, everything we do, we don't charge for our services, but it's also for every municipality, the 70 municipalities that we service, so all of those clients. And we do have actually a number of your Beaumont people within our kitchen learning center.
Thanks, appreciate it. Thank you very much this evening. Yep. Okay, Councilor Barnard, can you sign in? Just press the button, yeah. Oh, thank you. Ah. Hang on. Well, everybody will have to do it again. Everybody's got to re-sign in, please. Can I get everybody to re-sign in, please? Thank you. All right. All right, so that brings us to item 8A, bylaw 927-18, Lakeview Area Structure Plan, second and third reading. Mr. Wong, please. You don't have to leave, but you cannot vote because you missed the public hearing. Yeah. Sorry, we'll come back up after this. I was clicking right through. Sorry, my apologies. I jumped one. Item 6B, unregistered presentations. Is there anybody in council chambers tonight wishing to speak to members of council? Jim, I'm sorry about that. I tried.
I can feel the love. Evening, Mr. Mayor, councillors, members of the administration. My name is Jim Wotherspoon, resident of Beaumont, 3603 60th Street, or thereabouts. Each of you will have received a package of information regarding Place Chalarousse from me. And what I am seeking is a land use bylaw amendment that would preserve an important wetland and wildlife habitat that exists in the northwest corner of the Place Chalarousse development. Historically, this development was first approved in 2003. See the attached, which is in the big package. And economic conditions at the time saw the development move to the back burner. In 2014, I became aware that the project was going to proceed, and I wrote a letter to Mr. Justin Ma of Investec Engineering outlining my concerns for the wetlands. See attached. On March the 20th of 2015, letters were received from the town informing residents along 60th Street and Bay Caillou of the coming development. See the attached in the big package. In April of 2015, the residents learned that all of the MR space had been removed at the request of the town, who took the money in lieu of land. The residents on both sides of the development mounted a strong effort to restore the MR, but to no avail. On April 16, 2015, Councillor Bruce Lecren wrote that he was unaware of this and was personally going to do what he could to restore the MR, but there were no results. And see the attached comments from Mr. Lecren. On May the 26th of 2015, Mr. Pierre Alexandre Dion of Bay Caillou wrote outlining the reasons this wetland needed to be preserved. See the attached. Nothing changed, no MR. Then out of the blue on July the 18th, out of the blue for me anyways, 2018, there's a subdivision amendment, SDA 15-01, Place Chalarousse Phase 6A, that would see a 0.38 hectare green space built in the northeast corner of the development, and a destruction of the wetland green space in the northwest corner of the development. Now then, why would we spend taxpayers' money to build a new green space and pay to maintain that green space forever when we already have a green space in the form of the natural wetlands that that form part of the greater green space comprised of the wetlands, the Storm Pond, Four Seasons Park, and the LeBlanc Canal. Makes no sense and makes no logic. If we decide to build a new green space and maintain it forever and turn our backs on the wetland, then the question becomes who's minding the public purse and who's going to take credit for the never-ending maintenance. Somebody's going to have to. Just don't know who that's going to be. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you very much. So, yeah, thank you very much for the package that you presented tonight. I will make sure it gets turned over to admin, and we'll see where we go from there. Thanks. Is there anybody else in council chambers wishing to address council this evening? You did also. Sorry, I missed you. All right, seeing nobody else wishing to speak, we will now move on to bylaw 927-18 Lakeview Area Structure Plan, second and third reading. Mr. Wan.
Thank you. We'll have a short presentation and then question and answer. So thank you, Your Worship. A public hearing was held earlier this evening. Administration recommends the Council to give second and third readings to bylaws 927-18, a bylaw to adopt the Lakeview Area Structure Plan on the basis that this plan complies with higher level plans such as the Edmonton Metropolitan Region Growth Plan and the Municipal Development Plan. The Lakeview Area Structure Plan will help Beaumont to continue to grow into a complete communities that provides a variety of options and amenities to its residents. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there, do I have a member of council prepared to move second reading? Councillor Stout.
Thank you, Worship. So moved.
Is there any discussion on the motion or questions for admin? Councillor Hendricks.
Your Worship, thank you, and to the admin, the presentation earlier had a phasing map of that site development. Is there any way to put that back up?
I think you just see, yeah.
Thank you. I just want to speak to the phasing and also back to the stakeholder engagement. Communication came back to us in terms of timing. Just wondering if you could give us some confidence that the stakeholder ask, which is to get phase 4 moving as soon as possible with respect to school sites and what have you, is in keeping with what we're presently moving forward with.
Okay, in terms of the phasing, I think it is logical for the surfacing to connect contiguous with the existing where the infrastructure are, and as the business you was talking, it will be from the west, from Beaumont, and also down from Triumph Estate. So that is why the logical will be from north to south, and also from maybe the phasing would start from the west. But we will be developing the stormwater first. So, and because there is nothing infrastructure-wise from Highway 625, and that is why the surfacing, the logical phasing would be from the north to south.
Okay.
But I believe that the developer is trying to expedite for the development of the school site, because there was earlier correspondence with the school board, as they indicated it is a top priority in Beaumont for all the school boards. So we are working with the developers and also the school boards to accommodate that request there. Yeah.
So,
Mr. Raymond, additional comments to that question? Sorry.
So that's where I was going with the question, and I guess.
Through your worship to Councillor Hendricks, just in regards to the school sites, there's actually 2 school sites that are in that area, one in the north, one in the south. So the one in the north you'll see is actually in phase 1. So it's able to be constructed, and then the one in the south is in phase 4. So it is divided along the north-south current property boundary between the different owners.
Right. So I guess to my point, and I appreciate that, I'm more interested in the phase 4 piece than the phase 1 with respect to timelines and with respect to the interaction we've had with our school boards and the need for this community for more schools. And the last time we went through this piece, it was, do you have something shovel ready? And the minister stepped up and said, I'll give you cash if you have something shovel ready. but timing-wise, where are we going to be at roughly? If it's sort of like the ARW subdivision, we know where that started in terms of timing, and we know where they're finally getting to. So could you help me with the timing?
You want the real answers? It depends on the economics of the development industry. So there is no guarantee that if I say next year or in the following 2 years, it will not be guaranteed because it is from the industry. But I would suggest that like Ms. Raymond was talking about, the school site on the North School site will be available, probably sooner than the Phase 4 site.
Right. So with utilities and other pieces of infrastructure, could let's call it the 2 school sites or potentially 4 school sites, depending on how you cut that piece up and depending on how you build those sites out, could the infrastructure be built out in Phase 1?
You mean?
So in terms of utilities, like you've given the L-shaped piece we have, and Phase 1, Phase 2 piece would roll out initially, but we need just to get the utility piece out to Phase 4. I'm assuming that other pieces of the infrastructure would already be in place for Phase 1, like roadways and what have you. So it's just simply a way of connecting the infrastructure to Phase 4 without developing out the entire Phase 4 piece, and allowing that site to then turn into an acquired school site that can be developed.
That would be one way of looking at it, but it will be talking to, because there are 3 landowners involved in this area structure plan. So the north-south and then the northeast corner, right? So it also depends on the desirability of whether the landowner is ready for developments too. So yeah, it can be option, it can be discussed. Yeah.
So all I'm trying to do is create a focus, and I'd like to get a focus on that because, appreciate it's part of the MR. It's also part of the dollars that we've put in to create the extra MR to go to 12% from 10. And we know that there's 3 school boards that would love to be on site today. So the sooner we can get after it, the better.
Probably to add to that, it is that the Lakeview neighborhood here, but there is also the Elon. Elon has 2 school sites to the north now, and there is another one, I forgot which neighborhood, but there are altogether 3 school sites in Elon. So in total, at least there will be 5 school sites in the new development area. So if you look at the bigger picture, then there will be something available sooner than later, I would suggest.
Right. Ms. Raymond?
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, she's got...
Sorry, through your worship, to Councillor Hendricks again here. Just with regards to this, the landowner in the north is the landowner that has prepared the area structure plan. The landowner in the south is a conglomerate of 50 some odd different landowners, which is why we've designed the school site in the way that it can be developed. Yes, we can get to the south school site when those landowners are willing to participate, but obviously as to when they decide to participate is a whole other conversation. But everybody's very keenly aware that schools are a huge priority here in Beaumont. The developers are very keenly aware, so everybody is prepared to help move school sites as they do become available.
Okay. So if I can, Your Worship, their participation really is from the sidelines. If we carve that piece out, it's part of the MR piece. As long as the area structure plan has been approved by them, I would assume that they would be happy for us to move forward with the infrastructure that would go with that area.
Your worship, to Councillor Hendricks, our mechanism for being able to take municipal reserve land or school reserve land is through the subdivision process. So unless there's a subdivision there, we would be needing to expropriate the land in order to actually be able to get our hands on that.
No, I appreciate that if you go down that rabbit hole, you'd have to eventually expropriate, but that's not where I'm going. I'm just saying, what we're trying to do is allow our children in this community a school site. And we've all stepped up over the years as various councils have put a lot of cash into that land to ensure that we have enough land to build enough infrastructure for school sites. And all I'm getting at is that I'm hoping that, before I turn 104, that Phase 4 will be underway here. So thank you.
Councillor Stout.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through Your Worship to Mr. Wong, Ms. Raymond. Do we have a timeline for the improvement, widening, paving, asphalting of 241 there?
I believe
These are more development questions.
Yeah, it is the, depending on the subdivision, when the subdivision comes and it will be part of that subdivision approval conditions, the developer would be, first of all, dedicating the land, and then as part of the approval, they have to construct the road. If there is no subdivision, then there will be nothing happening on that side.
So
Yeah.
so I'm not hearing a timeline. It depends
No,
on the
it
pace of
depends
development.
on the economics of it, yeah.
And I noticed then in the document earlier that Alberta Transportation are scheduling to do something with the intersection in 2019.
Yeah, that is the intersection of Highway 625 and Range Road 241 as part of that improvement along 625. So it is not just intersection, but it is somewhere along the Highway 625. Yeah.
So
that will improve the capacity of that intersection there. Yeah.
Okay, so then if that happens before 241 has been upgraded, then we'll have a higher capacity intersection leading to a gravel road. Is that correct?
That is correct for the time being, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor McGuswain.
Thank you, Your Worship, and Councillor Hendricks spoke a lot more eloquently than I will, but I'm not sure if you got the answers that you're looking for. I didn't get the answers that I was looking for to your question, so I'll try and ask it again. What do we have, what options do we have as council to make sure that the school site, and I'm hearing, everyone's aware that it's going, but what options do we have from a statutory, regulatory opportunity to be able to make sure that that school site is included as that within that first section? And I get the argument around landowners and that sort of thing, but this is our only opportunity as council to be able to push this, and a lot of us have had these conversations, and I know you're keenly aware, but we wouldn't be doing our job if we weren't pushing to ensure that school site is built as either part of phase 1 or a 1B as soon as everything comes. So could you just provide a bit of context and how we can set ourselves up better here?
Ms. Mohammed.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through to Councillor Munkoff-Swain. Your control in this situation is to approve the area structure plan and get that in place. As is explained, it's very difficult for two separate owners of land. You can't commit another owner of land to a phase unless they're in it and they've agreed to do that already. So that's why the phasing has been laid out the way it is. Phase 1 is the developer who's created the area structure plan. They can move confidently ahead. In fact, we have it in writing, commitment to move that school site ahead. And then by approving the area structure plan, that enables us to then work with the developer to the south, the landowners to the south, to help to try and move that school site. So really at this point, the best action that council can take is approving the area structure plan, and then we can get the ball rolling and what else needs to go forward. The only other options are like what Ms. Raymond had raised earlier, expropriation. Generally, that's not a practice that we would recommend in terms of securing these types of sites. Thank you.
Okay, so a follow-up. The north half, clearly option 1 and option 2 there. Then you go into section 3 and 4. Now, I don't want to get into debating. They could go in at the same time and that sort of thing, but I think it's clear what we're trying to achieve here, and I think everyone knows what we're trying to achieve, but what you're saying is from a council's availability or opportunity to be able to regulate or put forward recommendations on this, we're really at the behest of the several hundred landowners or whatever it is within that parcel. So essentially there's nothing more that council can do from your perspective, what you're saying, in order for us to speed up that school site.
Thank you. Through your worship, that's correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Further discussion on the motion? We see Councillor Danlock.
Thank you, Worship. Just a point of clarification, if you don't mind, just for my own personal benefit. Maybe other councillors have it more clear in their mind than my own, but I believe on the 241 Range Road to be widened and paved and so on, as mentioned earlier in the discussion, a quick note of clarification. I thought one comment was made that it's based on an upcoming capital budget for our town to consider our contribution to get that road twinned. And another comment was made that it's going to depend on the developer's economic stimulus to get the project going to affect 241 being widened and paved. So I'm getting two messages there. Am I missing the boat on something there? Clarification, I'm getting too deep in the weeds on that? Just a point of clarification. Please, thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through to Councillor Daniluk. Both answers are correct. Both
there
happen
you
in
go.
the subdivision.
I'm done, 104,
Yeah.
I'm with you.
So it's part off-site levy and part coming before you in budget. So as part of that discussion, during budget, there'll be portions potentially proposed for 241. It may not be a whole sweeping area. It may be like where the most traffic would be in the most immediate future. So two parts are correct. It's coming forward at budget. The other part is it pulls out of off-site levies. And as for timing, the municipality has the option of just building an off-site levy project, or they wait for subdivision to occur and they make it part of that subdivision itself to happen.
Okay, perfect. So I had it sort of right, which is good. A quick follow-up then. So just from an observation perspective, so if the Department of Highways is looking at, in the 2019, fixing or improving the Highway 625, 241 intersection, would it not be prudent for us to let them do their work first, get the intersection done, and then have us link up 241, what they've already done, rather than us doing 241 first, the Department of Highways decides to delay things and then start fixing the intersection and tearing up what we've already done? I'm just asking about a procedural thing. I'm not getting too deep in the weeds, hopefully, but I'm just curious if we wait for the Department of Highways to fix that intersection first.
It's a chicken and the egg thing. We
Right.
can either go first or they can go first. I don't think it's a...
But let's be chicken, on a budget would be chicken, let them do their work first, wouldn't we? And then hook up to them?
Yeah. We can have further discussion
Okay.
on that at budget.
All right, I can withdraw the question, kind of, sort of.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, further discussion on the motion. All right, seeing none. Call the vote. All in favor of second reading? No, you just let it leave it. That carries unanimously with one abstention from Councillor Barnhart. Can I get a motion for third reading? Councillor Van Newkirk.
So moved.
Discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none, call the vote. All in favor with one abstention. All right, which brings us to our second bylaw of the evening, bylaw 931-18, land use bylaw, alcohol retail sales, first reading. Ms. Raymond.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to welcome Ruben Lee, who is a planner in our long-range planning area, to walk you through this report today.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, Council. We are here tonight to present Bylaw 931-18 for first reading to amend the Land Use Bylaw 796-12 to remove the 500-meter separation distance from the definitions of alcohol sales major and alcohol sales minor. Currently, both of the definitions require development located no less than 500 meters from any other major or minor alcohol sales user use for the retail sales of any and all types of alcoholic beverages to the public. The separation distance has been in place since 2013 with the intentions to prevent an over-concentration and proliferation of liquor stores, which was intended to reduce the potential for negative impacts to the residents and the community. However, based on the research, administration has found that analysis of the effectiveness of the separation distance requirements was restricted to the limitations of data available. There's no data to indicate that liquor stores have a negative impact on property values, generate parking impacts, nor could an identifiable relationship be drawn between the location of liquor stores and an increase in crime. Also, as you can see on attachment 2, currently there are 6 liquor stores in Beaumont, 2 of them were built after 2013 and meet the 500-meter separation distance, which means the separation distance requirement has resulted in non-conforming uses for existing liquor store owners in Beaumont. This creates uncertainty for businesses in Beaumont and property owners, and may reduce maintenance of the premises and efforts to protect the public from negative social impacts. Administration also conducted an analysis of the existing commercial land supply. 14 sites were identified where liquor stores were allowed. However, due to the separation requirement of 500 meters between the liquor stores, our analysis indicates only 2 future liquor stores would be allowed out of the 14 sites. The separation distance requirements restricts most of the eligible sites from having a liquor store, which may have turned business away from Beaumont and may preclude future businesses from establishing here in Beaumont. This restricts competition among liquor stores and enables a forced monopoly for existing retailers through protected market access. Also, a review of liquor store policies in 12 other Alberta jurisdictions indicates that other than Beaumont, only the City of Edmonton and City of Calgary require a minimum separation distance between liquor stores. Edmonton is currently amending the separation distance for major and minor alcohol sales, and their administration is expected to recommend removing the 500-meter separation distance between liquor stores while retaining a 100-meter liquor store separation distance from parks and schools. Most municipalities reviews selectively allow liquor stores in various districts in their land use bylaw, but do not regulate the distance between liquor stores. Some municipalities reviews stipulate liquor stores not located in proximity to a park or school, but in no case is greater than is the required distance greater than 100 meters. Some municipalities do not even distinguish liquor stores from general retail use in their land use bylaw. Administration has also found that the land use bylaw can be a tool to limit the availability of a controlled substance if there's an identified municipal concern. For instance, if the hours of the operation of this type of use could be connected to an increase in noise complaints, then the hours of operation may be something that could be limited through the land use bylaw regulation. The land use bylaw is not the appropriate legislation to regulate consumption. Considering all of the above, administration recommends that the 500 meters separation distance between liquor stores should be removed from the definitions of alcohol sales major and alcohol sales minor in the land use bylaw. Based on council's review and feedback, administration will hold a public open house to engage with the general public and the business community after council gave first reading to bylaw 931-18 and prior to a future council public hearing, which is anticipated to occur in November. Notification of the public hearing will be sent to the appropriate agencies and affected parties, and an advertisement will be circulated in the newspaper and posted on Beaumont's website. This concludes my presentation. Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Hendricks, comment?
Given the explanation, I think I should declare pecuniary, and I'll just step to the back. Thank you.
Noted. Thank you. Do I have a member of council present tonight willing to move for first reading? Councillor Danlock.
So move, Your Worship. Thank you.
Are there any clarifying questions from members of council? Councillor Barnhart.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The presentation was most complete. I have one question, though. When you looked at the other municipalities, and you say in the second paragraph under jurisdictional comparison, that most municipalities reviewed selectively allow liquor stores in various districts, but none of them have the 500 meters except Edmonton and Calgary. What does that mean when you say they reviewed selectively allow? So do they have other bylaws in place that limit where these liquor stores can go? I guess that's the question that I'm getting.
Through your worship, to Councillor Barnhart. As you can see in the council report, the reason why they review this selectively in different districts in our land use bylaw, liquor store or alcohol sales are listed as permitted use or discretionary use in different districts. So that's why they review this selectively.
Okay, if I could just clarify, because I think I'm just a little bit confused then.
Mm-hmm.
So they can't be anywhere but a commercial district, that I get, right?
They can only, through your worship to Councillor Barnhart, they can only be allowed in the districts where alcohol sales are listed as permitted use or discretionary use.
So in Beaumont, if we don't have a distance, is there any other way for us, other than the commercial districts or the districts where they're allowed currently, anything we can do other than the distance to limit the number? I guess what I'm getting at is that I hear often that people think we have maybe too many liquor stores, not enough other businesses in our town. So I don't want to get into a debate. I know we haven't got to first reading yet, but I'm just trying to get my facts straight about whether we have any other tools to help us other than the distance between. So.
Through your worship to Councillor Barnhart, we understand the concerns. As you can see in the report, alcohol sales, major and minor, some of them are discretionary uses in C1 commercial district and TCMU, Town Center Mixed Use District, and some of the direct control districts. So the development officer will be reviewing the proposed liquor stores and make the decisions, and it can be appealed, and the subdivision and development appeal board will make the final decision.
So,
one more clarification.
So the answer to the question is no. We have no other options besides it being allowed in the division that it is. Right?
But if I may, is there a change? Has this changed from what it is now? Is this proposed to be changed?
Through your worship to Councillor Barnhart, the lists of land use districts are not changed from what's currently allowed. The only thing that is being proposed to be removed in this bylaw is the 500-meter separation distance between the two. The reason for that was to allow the market to dictate. That was a principal reason. When we reviewed the data, it didn't support that inclusion, and then was potentially limiting some different things and then reducing some competition. So that was where that had come into play.
Thanks for the clarification. I await the public hearing.
Thank you. Further clarifying questions from members of council? All right, Councillor Danluck. Like a little ninja.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick question then. In the research you did that supported having no distance between liquor stores, was there any empirical data or research that would support having a 100-meter buffer around schools or parks as opposed to moving the entire 500?
Isn't that a different part of the bylaw? Is Raymond? Yeah.
Through your worship to Councillor Daniluk, yes, your question is relevant to this bylaw. It could be regulated through other places within this bylaw. I believe that the research that Mr. Lee had done indicated that there were some municipalities that do regulate a buffer to schools and parks, but we are not regulating consumption here. We're just regulating the retail sale of liquor.
Okay. Any further questions from members of council? All right, call the vote. All in favor? That carries unanimously.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Ruby. Okay, so that brings us to item 8C, bylaw 923-18, meeting procedures bylaw, second and third reading. Ms. Winter. Sorry, excuse me.
Thank you, Worship. Through you to members of council. A review of the current bylaw has been conducted and administration is seeking support from council for the proposed bylaw. First reading was given at the September 28th, 2018 council meeting. Proposed amendments have been incorporated into the draft bylaw and is being presented for second and third reading. Administration currently supports this bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a member of council willing to move second reading this evening? Councillor Van Newkirk.
So moved.
Discussion on the motion. Councillor Monkhouse-Swain.
Thank you, Your Worship. Firstly, thank you for all the hard work that has gone into this. I can't imagine what it was like to bring everything all back in. A couple of things from me. I guess where this really started for me, we had that good conversation with Mr. Robert Cuff, I want to say, Mr. Cuff, George Cuff, Mr. Cuff. And one of the big things for me in that conversation that we really spent a lot of time on as council was how do we as council have more influence over what is being brought forward in front of us. There was a need for a balance between what administration is trying to get done versus what council is looking to bring forward based on what they talked about during the campaign and also what they hear day to day to residents. It seems to me the solution on this is basically on page 166, agendas, item number 7, agendas for council meeting. It says any council member wishing to have an item of business placed on the agenda for a regular council shall make the submission to the supervisor no later than 12 noon on the Wednesday prior to that week. So the first question is that the solution to the problem that we were trying to fix? Sorry, I'm on page 166 of 198. Yep, 12, what did I say, 7? No. I said 7. Yeah, Roman numerals. 7, yeah. In New Zealand, we don't teach those things, so I apologise. Sorry, 12.2.
Thank you, Worship. Through you to Councillor Monkhouse-Swain. Yes, that is the solution to being able to have council be able to put items on the agenda, given that they are still subject to CAO discussion and approval and alongside with the mayor pending on, but that would be a discussion that would happen between the two and with the councillor notified of the decision. Okay.
So from my perspective, I was anticipating a bit more of a group discussion around these sorts of things. And as an example, if I've got something that I think is worth bringing up to the table, and my colleague Councillor Van Newkirk has another one, my understanding of that conversation, or my preference, would be to more have a kind of a group conversation where we can have, we kind of did it at once with when we had CAO Schwartz kind of facilitate that session, and I think that came out, we were able to discuss priorities and then come and look up, okay, these are some of the things we want to look at down the road. Are we moving away from that model? To me, it seems very independent, and I don't know what other people are submitting, and I might not know, I might not have a chance to weigh in on, actually that's way more important than what my little thing is. So I'm just, that was one of the concerns for me, is that I'm not sure how the group thinking can help participate in this.
Yeah, that, as far as I know.
Sorry. Thank you, Worship. Through you to Councillor Monkhouse-Swain, actually those quarterly meetings actually were something that we're going to continue with those group discussions. That is something that administration committed with council to have those quarterly meetings. So these are more one-off agenda items for putting onto the council agenda. Those quarterly meetings will be scheduled. We were wait for all of council to be back before booking, and we will be booking that quarterly meeting most likely the end of October, beginning of November, after the organizational meeting.
Okay, so that makes me feel a lot better. Is there a reason why that's, and if it is included here, I'll eat crow, but is there a reason why that's not included in this piece?
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to Councillor Munkoff-Swain. We were hoping to keep those meetings more informal, where this is more of a formal process. That was kind of like a brainstorming quarterly meeting is what we were looking at. You'll see in the procedural bylaw, I had put in there for like an educational piece for it and to be able to have those meetings outside of having council meetings. And we were hoping for those quarterly meetings to be more informal discussion to bring to council.
And so I completely agree about the need for the discussion to be informal. I can't see a concern formalizing the need to have the meeting would be my observation. So I completely agree, casual, but I'd like to see it, and my personal preference, I'd like to see it formalized in this document so that we know and the public knows that council meet quarterly to discuss brainstorming ideas, so that when residents are engaging with us, we can say, okay, this is a good topic, I'll bring this forward to this conversation. I can point to this bylaw to say where it is. That's just an observation, and happy for council to weigh in on that if they so choose. The last thing, if you don't mind, Your Worship, it's more of a comment with regards to, you brought up education sessions, and so we've had some good conversations on that. I think it's a great addition. Would be a request to maybe to start off with the Robert's rules to go through for particularly the five of us. We should know it. But I still think, and I'm definitely guilty of it, we still talk too much during first readings and all that sort of stuff, so it'd be good to get a refresher on that. I would like to see that come up forward, but I really like the addition of that educational session piece. I think we can certainly benefit from that. So again, thank you for all the work on it. I know it was a lot of work to go through, and I'm really happy with where it's at, so thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just before you hang up, procedurally, then are you proposing an amendment to clarify those quarterly meetings?
I guess I am, yeah. Thank you for telling me. Maybe I need to have an educational session.
Yeah, no, I just want to make sure you're going to move an amendment and then we can vote on the amendment
Through
and
you,
then go back to it.
Currently, there's a motion on the floor, so that amendment would need to go through Councillor Van Newkirk to be able to do that with the motion.
Friendly amendment accepted.
We're going to do this as a friendly? Okay, I was going to do this contested, but yeah, we can do it as a friendly. It's fine.
However you prefer, proceed. However you prefer.
I prefer friendly because it's faster, but take that amendment. Thank you.
Councillor Munkoff-Swain has proposed an amendment to include the quarterly meetings as part of this procedural bylaw. Councillor Van Newkirk has accepted that amendment, negating a vote on it. So we're now going to have a discussion on the amended bylaw.
You're going to take others?
I will, depending how far down we get.
That's what I wondered, process-wise.
Yeah.
Not them all and then we make one.
Well, depends.
Each one as we go.
But I'm going to defer back to you. But I'm pretty sure that if it's a friendly amendment, we're now discussing the amended bylaw. If you're going to propose further amendments, it's going to depend upon whether or not Councillor Van Newkirk accepts them, or we vote on the amendment.
Can I? Thank you. Through you to elected officials, if we're looking at a number of amendments, then I would say to discuss in second and then to defer third reading and go back to rewrite the bylaw if we're looking at a number of amendments to this bylaw.
Fair enough.
Procedurally.
Yeah. Councillor Barnhart?
So given that, I did find 3, 4, 5 things that are typos which don't have to be amendments. I understand that. It's like I can certainly give you those. That's in the weeds, but that's how I read things, so forgive me for that. My question, which might turn out to be an amendment, is on Roman numeral, I can't talk tonight, Roman numeral 14, X1V.
Thank you.
My friends from the South. And it's item 1F. presentations shall not address council on the same subject matter more than once every 3 months. Could you clarify that for me and the intent, and that might help me to feel comfortable with that?
Thank you, Worship. Through you to Councillor Barnhart. With regards to this, we do have a number of presentations that do come through constantly to council. This is a way of putting into this to be able to control those presentations that are coming. This is also subject to council allowing a specific topic to come through again to administration if need be, if there was some sort of urgency of a topic that came through. This is something that other municipalities do practice. So when I was doing the research, I thought that it would be important to include to ours, because we do get a few presentations that come through that administration feels that we wouldn't necessarily need to come to council, every...
Thank you for that. Through the mayor and to my colleagues, I'm just a little worried about that, the intent of that being limiting in terms of people coming forward and speaking to us. There was a little more clarity on what the same subject matter means, but when I took that to read, it could be interpreted as something as broad as childcare, or as distinct or detailed as some one subdivision. I mean, it just says the same subject matter. So I don't like the idea of limiting conversation and our citizens coming forward to us.
I took that to read as the same presenter coming back with the same topic twice in 3 months.
That doesn't say that. So if the wording could say that, same presenter, same topic, same exact point of view, that's one thing. But the same subject matter could definitely be taken in different ways, and that would effectively limit the opportunity for our citizens to come forward and speak to us on a broader topic. So I think it's the wording there that I'm just uncomfortable with.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. If we're going to wordsmith this, how many other council members have something they want to wordsmith in this document? Okay, because right now I'm sort of toying with the idea, sending this back to committee of the whole for a broader discussion. So, Councillor Van Newkirk?
Maybe I'll just throw out the question that I had, and it's a bigger picture question around myself, and I've chatted with CAO about it in the past. And when we talk about quarterly meetings and the procedure for bringing ideas forward and things we'd like moved on forward, and then we also talk about the notice of motion procedure. I really like the quarterly meetings and the whiteboarding, and I really like the format of that. But one of the struggles that I've had that I can't see is solved in here is the competing ways that you can bring forward issues that you want dealt with. So you have a whiteboard session where we come out of it with our top 3 things that we want done, and then we say, administration, bring back some direction on 1, 2, or 3. That also could have been done through a notice of motion that we brought forward. And for me, I'm kind of conflicted because I prefer the whiteboarding session to the notice of motion portion, but the notice of motion portion of doing that is more formal than the other and is the traditional way of doing things. So that's big picture. I went backwards and forwards in here, and I don't know that putting in the quarterly meetings into here, I think that's a good thing. So it's stated in there, but the 2 different ways to bring issues forward is something that I've personally struggled with. That's my comment. I don't know how we put clarity to the role of the quarterly meeting versus the process of the notice of motion that we bring forward items that we'd like action or reports on.
Well, I think honestly we need both those mechanisms, because the quarterly meeting is a friendly way where we can decide as a council on our priorities. Mm-hmm. The notice of motion is a way to get something on the agenda faster, if you so choose to do it, or if you can't get consensus from your council mates at at the quarterly. It's a way for you to push something on the agenda and make council consider it. So you, as individual council members, we are just going to have to judge what's the best avenue to get our agenda item to where we need it to be. So that was my thinking on the two, and that's why I think we should leave them both in there and use them both.
Yeah, just a quick follow-up then.
Sure.
That's good, thank you. I support the friendly amendment to get the quarterly into the document.
Okay. Councillor Munka. Okay. CAO.
Just to further what the mayor just offered through the mayor to council, the other avenue you have, well, there's a number of avenues. You also have your strategic planning, which we do on an annual basis, which will hopefully help keep us up at the high-level priorities. The fear that I have is that we put a strategic plan together, we have quarterly meetings, we prioritize them as well, we have the odd notice of motion, and quite frankly, we're being jerked every different way. And now we've got nothing moving the big picture forward. Nothing in this bylaw is to prevent ideas. In fact, I think it loosens it up. And the other consideration is if it's not working, we can change it. So I just offer those. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Margolis-Swain?
So I don't think we need to move it to another committee of the whole, but did you want to speak to Councillor Barnhart's?
Yeah, we're going to go, if ever
I got a
done
question
that, we'll come
outside of
back to that one, because that's, because I think that's the last issue we got to deal with. Unless somebody's sitting on something they...
I got a question, not about the text, it's not going to change it, so I think we should, yeah.
Okay, so getting back to Councillor Barnhart's inquiry, thoughts from the remainder of council, or do you have further?
Well, just to speak to it so I'm clear, presentation shall not address council on the same subject matter. If I read that verbatim, and I know we're coming up to some other issues that are coming before council, let's say it's transit, I'll take that one because it's probably less contentious at this point. If people wanted to make presentations to council on transit, they'd only be allowed to do that once every 3 months. This doesn't say the same person, it says the same subject. So I'm just feeling that that's too restrictive, and that I think it's a minor change, but I do think that what's written here is what's being proposed.
So are you making a motion to amend presentations to presenters?
That I could live with.
Can I
on the
speak to
same
that?
subject matter.
Sure.
So I get where you're going. I think what this allows, so this is a registered presentation. By keeping it relatively loose, it allows a bit of flexibility. If we get too specific in terms of presenter, right, then that person's brother might be able to come up and speak to it, and then that person. So what this does is it allows, and I don't think administration are trying to restrict the amount of people that come up and speak on a topic. If someone wants to talk about transit, about how much it costs to get on the bus every day, and another one wants to talk about, can we add another stop? I think administration hopefully would go through that and allow that process to happen based on their judgment, exercising what should be on our agenda. I think if we get down and try and make it too specific with regards to subject matter and who can speak and if it's a specific topic, I think that limits their ability to manage the agenda from the public coming in. So I looked at that a couple of times myself and went back and forward, but I think it does give administration necessary power is the wrong word, but opportunity to be able to take things away from us that we don't need to see on a regular basis. So I'm okay with the wording. Yeah.
Further discussion on the amendment? Yours. Sorry? Well, Councillor Van Newkirk accepted it as a friendly, so you're now adding this. This is the only amendment that we're currently unfriendly. However you want to cut that one.
At this point, so move it amendment.
So you're going to move the amendment. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for, somebody to move the amendment.
I would change presentations to presenters.
Okay, further discussion on the amendment. All All right, seeing none. Call the vote on changing presentations to presenters in section 14.1F. All in favor? That carries 4-3. Further discussion on the amended motion. Councillor Van Newkirk, or sorry, Councillor Monkhoff-Swain.
Thank you. Regarding the presentations 14.2, so continuing on, I think we're on this page. No, go down one, please. Open forum to portion of council, yeah. So page 167. So what we've basically put in here, so right now any resident can come in and speak to council in the unregistered presentations forum, and so this section eliminates that without having to go through administration. So it says particularly here, the person must have submitted their request in writing to the CAO or supervisor, including the general topic, by noon of the day of council that day. I'm certainly in support and favour of that. I just would like us to see some sort of communication prepared if this bylaw goes through and if this is the new law of the land. One of the big things I hear from residents is that they don't really know how to engage in with council, how to be part of the process. So I think we could look at some sort of campaign around, and I'm sure you already are because you got very excited and touched the button. But I'd like to see some sort of proactive campaign to talk about if you've got concerns. These are the avenues. We talk about a service request tracker. We talk about opportunities to come in here. So if we could just try and see if we could put a campaign together to try and communicate this a bit, I'd appreciate that.
Ms. Winter.
Thank you, Worship. Through you to Councillor Monkhoff-Swain. I am excited actually about this portion in the procedural bylaw. The reason for this is to get that information out there, because I do get approached a lot by citizens asking, how can I talk to council? How can I engage council? So when the CAO and I had spoke about this, I thought this is a great idea to be able to get citizen engagement, so then legislative services can speak with them. And I get a lot like, how do I talk to councillors? How can I come to a council meeting? And this way I'm able to intervene in there and tell them how they can do it. And then also I can go to the areas and have responses prepared for that meeting to have council better informed for when they do come and they're asking questions or anything. And then administration at that time at the meeting is able to answer those questions versus referring it back to administration and having to get back to you at another council meeting or in an email in a few days. We would be better prepared.
Yeah, so thank you. I just, to further build on that, I'd like to see a formalised effort to be able to engage, whether it's ads in the paper. I'd like to see us, even get the CAO up there and he can do a 1-minute video about how to talk to council, or even get the mayor to do it, or however. Just a better way that we can push people to it. I think this is, I really like the way you've gone to with this. It takes the ambiguity out of it and allows you to have a bit more control of the process. I just think we should be publishing this in ads and social media and have a dedicated page on our website, but I'll leave that with you. Thank you.
Councillor Van Newkirk.
Hello, just in this same section here, just a comment about when the open forum would be presented on the agendas. I know we had batted around informally, well, it could be at the front end of the agenda or it could be at the back end of the agenda. Is there any thoughts? Is there any need? So my question would be, is there any need to determine in here what portion of the agenda that the open forum would be included in, as to not have residents, if we plucked it right at the end, then residents would seemingly have to wait through a potentially 3 or 4 hour meeting to have their say, versus at the beginning versus in the middle. Any comments on that, please? Thank you.
Ms. Winter.
Thank you, Worship. Through you to Councillor Van Newkirk. That is a decision that council can make at the organizational meeting when we're going through the meeting schedule and going through the agenda. So that will be part of the new agenda, is replacing with the open forum. At that time, council can make that decision to put it at the front of the meeting, put it at the back end of the meeting, wherever council sees fit.
Thank you. Councillor Barnhart.
Thank you, Your Worship. And this is just a question because I can't find something that's being referred to. Page number. It's Roman numeral 24, XXIV, 1V, IV, and it's number 5. Decision of the mayor to refuse an inquiry from a councillor does not comply with, and then it references, and I'm sorry for this, XX111 to ABC, which on my copy does not exist. So
where are you at? Which page?
I figured I'd have to go back over that.
198.
I can't find the page numbers here, so hang on. It's 14 of 14 on this one, so it doesn't help me when you go.
It's supposed to be X1, 1V. Very last page.
Very last page?
Yeah.
X1, I don't know what it's supposed to be. I looked for 2 different ones, so it's 24, number 5.
It's on page 174.
So, item 5, XX3. Yeah, directly above it. Committee of the whole, 2A.
So it's the one in this same section. Okay. Yep.
Oh, it's been renumbered, yes.
Yep.
It should be 20.
Thank you.
24, not 23.
Any further discussion on the bylaw as amended? All right, hearing none. All in favor? That passes unanimously. Can I get a motion for third reading? Councillor Stout.
So moved, Your Worship.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none. All in favor? That carries. Councillor Stout. There we go. Carries unanimously. Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. Which brings us to bylaw 92-18, Chief Administrative Officer, first reading, Ms. Winter.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to members of council, the public. Pursuant to Section 205 of the Municipal Government Act, amendments thereto, the Act requires that council establish a bylaw for the position of Chief Administrative Officer. The purpose of the bylaw is to establish authority, roles, responsibility, and the delegation of the CAO. With preparing this bylaw, we brought up the amendments from the Municipal Government Act, and we now are preparing to give first reading to council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, is there a member of council willing to move first reading on the CAO bylaw? Councillor Danlock.
So move, Your Worship. Thank you.
Discussion on the motion. Councillor Hendricks.
Your Worship, given that this is the first time council will be trading a chief administrative officer, I'm just not sure what the next step is.
What? Recommendation, the council give first trading to, so who are we trading them for? Sorry. Discussion on the motion. Councillor Van Newkirk. That's funny.
Thank you, Your Worship. Section 5V, number 4. Except for the purpose of an official inquiry, council shall deal with the municipal administration and the control thereof solely through the CAO, and shall not give direction to any of the subordinates of the chief administrative officer. I don't believe there's any change there at all. The one question I had in this document is currently the CAO has allowed us to contact, seemingly the first layer down and talk with general managers. Is there any reason to speak to that in this document, or shall that that excerpt cover that piece?
CEO Schwartz.
There's no intention to change that. That's basically strictly language of the MGA, I believe, procedurally, but we have the ability to say that's not the case, and we still have access to general managers.
Thank you.
Further clarifying questions on the motion? All right, so call the vote. That carries. Take a quick straw poll of council. I know our agendas get kind of tough, kind of busy. To me, this is largely an administrative bylaw, replacing one that's come 1995. I'd like to get through second and third tonight, if possible. I know that Ms. Winter will slap my knuckles later because I'm outside of bounds, but third reading requires unanimous consent. So if I could just get some nods of heads, I'll propose second and third and we'll go for it. Otherwise, we'll bring it back to another meeting. Fair? Okay, can I get a member of council to propose second reading, please? Councillor Stout.
So moved, Your Worship.
Call the vote. All in favor? Carries unanimously. Can I get a motion from a member of council to allow third reading? As a reminder, this one must pass unanimously or not do it. Councillor Hendricks.
Your Worship, and not to get into the weeds, but just want to make sure that technically, and I fully support going to third, but this does not have to be advertised, doesn't have to be in the paper, it doesn't have to find its way through another process under the
Good question, actually.
Yeah.
Ms. Winter?
Thank you, Worship. Through you to Councillor Hendricks. No, this does not require a public hearing or anything, and council is able to pass first, second, and third. Thank you.
Can I get a motion for a third then? Councillor Van Newkirk.
So moved.
All in favor? Sorry, discussion on the motion? Seeing none. All in favor? Carries. Third reading. All right, which brings us to item 9, councillor and committee reports. Is there any member of Ms. Winter?
Thank you, Worship. That was unanimous. We now need movement for third reading.
Did I skip right through it? Oh, sorry.
Unanimous to go into third reading.
Reading. Third reading. Sorry, my apologies. I got on a roll. Can I get a motion for third reading? Councillor Stout.
Motion for third reading, Your Worship.
Thank you. All in discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor? Wow, I'm having a rough night tonight. Councillor Van Newkirk. Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, so that really does bring us to item 9, councillor and committee reports. Is there any member of council wishing to address council this evening? Okay, seeing none, I do have one invitation that I would like to extend to council. As you may know, we are hosting the Mid-Cities Mayor's Caucus on the 18th and 19th of March, Thursday, Friday. Traditionally, the hosting municipality offers its councillors the ability to come on the tours and to the dinner and to breakfast the following morning. The meetings are generally closed to the mayor and council, but if you wanted to sneak in, I could probably figure out how to do that. So I'd like to extend that invitation. If you're interested in coming, please let Shima know, Ms. Naradin, and she'll make sure you get tickets and timings and where you need to be, and perhaps we'll just send out a quick email as a reminder and you guys can respond to it. Sorry, October. Did I really say March? No. October 18, 19. 2 weeks from now. Here in town, yeah. Is there anybody else wishing to address council so I can shut up? Yeah. CAO updates. Mr. Schwartz.
Oh, thank you. Just a couple things very quickly. Special thanks to the firefighters and the folks at Colonial School and to the Grayson family. On October 5th, Malek Grayson was our fire chief for the day. I saw him beetling around here for part of the day, and the smiles were abound by everybody throughout the organization, the family, even himself. They managed to rescue Mickey from the roof, and he was unharmed, and that was very important. They had a drill at the Colonial School as well, and I'm told that the camaraderie that was shown by the students towards Malek was just very heartwarming, so that's super impressive. And our firefighters, I can't say enough. That was a first-class effort, and you saw some of the footage that we had posted out, and like I say, the smiles and running and chasing after each other. It was very heartwarming and a tribute to our organization and our community, if you ask me. I think there's going to be some questions on the BSRC, so I'm not going to give any more of an update, and the mayor covered the caucus. The dinner and tour is, the tour is actually, it's going to be very unique. There will be a tour of EIA, which some of you have had already. We're also going to be going down to Chappelle, did I get that right? To have a look at the autonomous bus and allow the mayors to have a ride on that. It'll also include a tour of the Righan Distillery and Leduc Nisku, and then Chartier for dinner. It's going to be a really interesting experience for the Mid-Cities Mayor's Caucus. Our locally owned diversified bus lines is providing transportation free of charge for the caucus. So that's just cool, the business supporting us. And that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions for the CAO? Councillor Van Newkirk.
Hello, I had a couple of quick questions here, both operational in nature. Just looking for a quick update on a capital budget item to see, have we in fact purchased the portable stage yet, as per the last budget?
Yes, we have. We're waiting for delivery.
Okay. Second question. Transit numbers update. We had some numbers provided to us. Just wondering when this information would be brought forward to council, or is the presentation of data going to be shared, or where do we go from there with those numbers?
Yeah, the plan is to do a presentation to council, I think, in 2 weeks. I'd have to look at the schedule, but then also to distribute it out through our different social media outlets as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councillor Daniluk.
Thank you, Your Worship. Two questions, if I may, to our CEO. First question, an update, if we could, on the Beaumont Sports Recreation Center construction. I know we had some fencing up the last week or so. I know we have some good news coming on that front. If you could, please.
Sure. There's been a lot of work that's been undertaken. It started October 1st. A lot of it is behind the scenes stuff, doing more detailed evaluations of the current building. And we got 3 construction people in this council, so I'm probably going to get my terminologies wrong, so feel free to dive in at any point in time. And some general site preparations and markings and so on. Tomorrow we will see the first piling rig actually on site. That's pretty exciting because the community itself will see some equipment, and we'll be running some test piles before this week is over. The sod turning is on Thursday, if I recall. Thursday, Friday? Friday. So again, another great event that our community can sink its teeth into.
Thank you. Second question? Second question, if I may also. We had a presentation at council 2 weeks ago regarding a young girl, Janaea, and doing a Christmas function for her. They made a request of administration and council to, I believe, Christmas decorations. Can we have an update if we're able to accommodate that request, or what's maybe happening on that front, please? Thank you.
I'm going to lack the nitty-gritty details, but we have reached out and we are putting some stuff in motion. Rob, if you can speak really, really loudly.
Yeah, no problem. So, council, we are working with Public Works right now at putting up a light display that's in the community and in our neighborhood. Just respecting also the fact that Wednesday, it's typically not standard to put anything up before, but we are working in that neighborhood to put up some of our lights.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Councillor Munkoff-Swain.
Thank you, Your Worship. CAO, thank you for the update. It's very exciting to see the work that's about to start out there at the rec centre. During the conversation on September the 11th, I want to say, where there was a discussion, and part of the package that came forward to us was regarding the parking situation. So previously it was presented that it was just going to be the north parking lot, and then what came back to council, and I'll read it word for word here, that public access would be maintained through the updated south entrance by creating an all-weather parking surface for 28 vehicles to the southwest corner of the site. The parking option will require approval by the town to ensure it meets its setbacks. So clearly that's not in place right now, and if you could just speak to when you think that might be in, or what part of the process. Right now everyone's walking from the north parking lot into the main building. If you could just provide some background as to when the all-weather parking lot will be ready.
Certainly, I don't have much of an update, but I will by tomorrow, and I can send an email. Mr. Hiltz is managing that end of it, and I didn't ask him that level of detail, and he's just back tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
If you don't mind.
Councilor Hendricks?
Your Worship, and just to piggyback again on that same project, had a couple of comments about is the entire facility closed now given the fence? I said, no, you still have access. So I was wondering, as people drive by, they just see it that way. Is there a sign that we can put up, say, hey, we're open during construction, or something that, hey, we're still open, or at least define the dates when the pool will close, or, you know, and of course my favorite second floor piece, we'll fight as hard as we can to keep that open as long as we can. But just something on site that speaks to timelines and what have you.
Yeah, certainly, that's a good suggestion, and I'll talk to Mr. Hiltz about that. As far as keeping the fitness center open, we developed a plan on Friday that I'm just waiting to hear back. I was hoping to hear back before this meeting's over that could see that stretched out. So we are doing as we committed and pushing this envelope as much as we can.
Councilor Barnhart.
Thank you, Your Worship. And just to follow up on three colleagues on the same project, could I have an update, please? Could we have an update, please, on the dog park? And what's the latest on where that is going to be?
On the, sorry.
The dog park.
Oh, yeah, the dog park again. We've kept the one arm of it open for now. We're going to keep it open as long as we can, and we're still exploring 3 other sites to move the fencing and keep something open for our community, but we haven't got a decision on that yet.
Thank you. All right, thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Seeing no further questions, are there no correspondence this evening? Are there any notices of motion? Okay, seeing none, can I get a motion to move in camera, please? Councillor Danlock.
So moved, Your Worship.
All in favor?